And we want to bring this conversation to you because we believe there's a lot of powerful teachings in here. So as people come into the chat room, for those that are already in here, I want you to give us a definition what idleness means to you, even if it's got charge and polarity behind it. So go ahead and write something in the chat room what idleness means to you. So Martina, what does idle mean to you?
Well, I've been really looking. I even got myself a book, How to Be Idle, going through a bit of a trickly energy this last week. And looking into it, I realized it is more effort than you think to be idle. Because I was thinking, everyone says idle is laziness and not doing anything. And actually, to shut your mind off or to get into that place of relaxation to the level where you can consider yourself idle, but still not judge yourself for it, is not easy.
And why do people have a tough time being in that idle state?
First of all, because it's misidentified. As far as I'm concerned, it's this big thing about definition. As soon as you define something as, and even if you don't know, that's why it is so important at times to actually look up a definition of a word. And it can actually throw you quite a bit because you get energetically incarcerated through a specific choice of word without you knowing it. And then, of course, as soon as you read idleness means you're boring and you're bored and you're lazy and you'd rather be dead and all that. Well, who wants to be idle then, right?
Because who's gonna choose those labels and definitions? No one.
Yep, and this is the thing. That is that huge thing getting limited through defining yourself. It's almost like even identity is limiting. You think, we need to find our identity. We need to be individuals. What does that do? Individualization, if you look at individualization, it brings out how are you different to somebody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a screenshot of that one thing. Like today, you are a teacher, right? As soon as you switch off that Zoom, you're no longer a teacher. You are a son. You are a lover. You are a mother, something completely different. And this is the main thing. And that goes all the way through the dimensions, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
We need to stop thinking pancake. Yeah, you're not a pancake. The world is not a pancake.
Right.
No.
And a lot of times spiritual people do everything spiritual all the time and they don't know what idleness is. They don't know what off time is. And I say it in my shows all the time. What do you do for fun that isn't spiritual? What do you do just for yourself? What do you do to turn yourself off? And 99% of the people have no answer. And because they have no answer, they're always running adrenal glands in the background. And when you're forever in the adrenal gland, that pancake's got chocolate chips in it. What can I put in that pancake next? Do I got butter to put on it? Do I got syrup? Always the mind is thinking, strategizes, and creating agendas about that pancake.
Yeah, and when I say the world is not a pancake, it's not flat. Look at the pancake. When you think the next layer, what is a pancake made of? It's made of milk, eggs, sugar, flour, let's say that, yeah? So that brings the next dimension already. Now you can look at, okay, so where does the milk come from? Where does the sugar come from? The flour, next dimension, the tractor who actually works, to the mill and everything. And all of a sudden you're going through all the dimension and you actually start realizing that we are the same. We're not just MG here, sitting here as a flat pancake. There is lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes behind, shards, parts, and avatars behind us that are not necessarily always in coherence with what we want to choose. They're not always in cooperation in our pursuit of happiness.
And the journey to the pursuit of happiness oftentimes has an aggressive agenda behind it. And that's why idleness is seen as a negativity. To pursue happiness is actively doing something that Like just before we came on, you were saying when people go on holiday, they work their ass off on holiday, so they have fun during the holiday instead of being in that idle state where they're resting, recouping, recovering, and still in an entertained state internally, externally, with a smile on their face in that idle state.
I really think we need to go all the way back and look actually what's happening here. You know, we have to really acknowledge from a very sacred neutral perspective that we are living in a reality full of deception.
Really? I never knew that.
I know. You know, I want to bring it into context of pursuit of happiness. If you look at that, we're living on a false light technology.
Mm-hmm.
False light projections. Now, what are those false light projections doing? They are projecting onto us. It's almost like the anesthetizing our consciousness. You are light, your sound, your light that you innately are is continuously being dimmed by those. Yeah. So when we look at that, we also need to realize that we are disconnected from source. And that source disconnection.
That's the lightless flesh that they want us to be.
Mm-hmm.
When you are a lightless flesh, there's no light in your flesh. You're just a manifestation of flesh with no soul.
Mm-hmm. So why do we say all that? Because, you know, once you acknowledge that and you don't go into the charge and polarity of it and just say, okay, so this is what it actually is. This consensual reality is a world of deception. Okay, so how can we maintain our wholeness within that reality without fractalizing ourselves and actually carry on continuing in our pursuit of happiness, which at the end of the day is what? Going back to wholeness, not allowing ourselves to be fractalized into the shards, parts, and avatars. And this is why the teaching of that, you know, I am individuation process is so important to understand what's actually happening when we say we are time travelers and we are living in all the dimension at the same time.
When we are simultaneously existing beings, we are literally that. But there are people on the journey that will factionalize that concept and put themselves in the third person perspective of all there is, was, and ever will be, of simultaneous existence. And when you're constantly putting yourself in the third person point of view, you aren't being a full person. And that journey to from first person to second person to third person is something we generate in ourselves that makes the friction easy that exists within us. All of us, there are many people that have friction with spirituality. So it's easier to be watching ourselves doing something instead of being in our body doing. And the journey to idleness is being in your body and not observing your body. That's the real framework and frequency, to be in your body without an extended agenda, an extended strategy, to be in the moment. And once we are in the metaphorical moment, we allow our collective consciousness, creative minds can roam, which can activate and catalyze our genius. Because sitting there and just thinking about stuff, is that being idle? Well, it gets a point where idleness for the idle's purpose is a state of being people should learn to experience on a regular basis and learn to practice it as part of their sacred disciplines, so that when they do enter those highly charged mind states, they can return to an idleness to regenerate the brain's power.
So I think what we can say here is probably idleness is almost like non-separation, non-definition, going into that space. Now, I was looking at that because I was sitting on my couch and there was no distraction. I had a week of very little distraction. It's very difficult not to have a distraction, to be honest. But equally so, it's kind of difficult at the moment to have a distraction that is meaningful, that you actually want. So you're between a rock and a hard place at the moment. So you're just sitting on that couch and it's like, okay, so what is that? What if I had to identify myself now, what would I like to identify myself as? And then I thought, oh, monk. I want to be a monk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I had this idea of, oh, it's just so calm and doesn't give unsolicited advice and just speaks when it's being asked, he or she, and that feeling of that sense of being connected to whoever, whatever the fuck they believe in and stuff like that. No, you don't have to laugh. Why are you laughing?
I'm smiling. I'm smiling. Martina and I had the other day had this conversation about Martina being a monk, and I'm like, the Austrian you wouldn't allow it. You have to give your unsolicited opinion. You like to go to car boot sales. You have too many attachments. It just won't work. You love fashion. Come on.
Okay, so I've taken that on board, and then I changed my mind, and I want to be a sloth now.
Haha. Channel your inner sloth for us.
Exactly.
Oh, great Lord of Sloths, Martina,
sloth.
Tell us prophecy of the land of sloths.
And I'll tell you what, I read up a little bit on the symbolism of a sloth, and they are absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And number one was actually, I wanted to do an acronym, but I couldn't, really, but I started with S. Sloth is actually, it's a symbol of pure joy, right? I mean, look at the sloth in the face. It's like, oh my God, you just want to hug it. It's like, it makes you happy, right? For what reason? It's not doing anything. It's just hanging upside down there. And I'm thinking, yes, I want that. Just somebody comes into the room, is happy because we're in the room together and I'm hanging upside down or not, and don't have to do or say anything. How does it get better? That is amazing. I love that. But you see, this is the thing in this reality where we are actually not allowed to, look at him or her, he's absolutely gorgeous. We're actually not allowed, joy is actually something that is frowned on. When you have people that are too joyful, it's like, oh, you're a little bit too joyful here, right?
Because those people have internal issues going on with joy in general. If somebody's got to turn down their light and their joy, somebody walks in the room, you got to turn that down. That's their internal thing, and don't let them do that to you.
No, I know, but I mean, just the realization to acknowledge that we are so undereducated on joy. There's no education, no joy education out there.
But that's part of the false light. That's part of the false light technologies and teachings.
Absolutely. And this is what we're talking about today. Mm-hmm. False light technology, pursuit of happiness. How can we bring it together? How can we actually look through that false light, and the hanging upside down? Yes, that is what the sloth does, right? Hangs upside down for most of his life. It's a totally different perspective. So continuously looking at a different perspective. That's another teaching of the sloth. And I'm like, yes, how can I do more of that, right? And then, of course, the other thing, what we always talk about is that big thing of responsibility, right? Mm-hmm. Responsibility, taking responsibility to the level of your awareness. Now, response, ability, the ability to respond. Now, we are in a place now, second year lockdown, where that response ability is truly, truly a gem. If you know how, if you are able to respond to what's happening around you, again, which the sloth does, because it keeps on hanging there. Whatever happens around, their claws are so big and strong. Even they die sometimes, I read, and still hanging there dead because of their strong claws, clocking together. They have this amazing adaptability. And I like adaptability. I like response and adaptability to the level of our awareness. I really looked at that this week and I thought, let's add this adaptability, because that's part of the idleness as far as I'm concerned. If you become A+ effort in being idle, you need to know how to be adaptable.
All right. I'm going to put that to the audience. A plus effort is 90 minutes a day, 6 days a week. Who can be idle 90 minutes a day, 6 days a week? We'll put that out as a challenge. Not bored and lazy, truly in the state that Martina has just said, in that joy and happiness state for 90 minutes. Sitting there, glowing your light.
I'll tell you what, guys, let us know next Tuesday, because because I tried it and I thought, Jesus, how difficult is that?
Mm-hmm. And playing guitar is not being idle.
Nope. It's a conserving of your energy. Another thing the Sloth
and it's not meditation either.
No.
It's not a visionary state either. It's not journeying or traveling. It's not all of those other meditative spiritual techniques that you're going to be saying. It's not Wim Hof breathing either.
Nope.
Okay? It's not looking at a magazine. It's simply being.
Simply being.
Watching a wall is doing something. Tuning into sensuality is doing something. You got to take in the doing something out of it.
And look, there is no right or wrong about this. It's just an exploration that is very different.
Right.
And whilst you're doing that, you actually realize one thing. I realized one thing, because I started off, I didn't think of the word idle in the beginning until I found the book. I started thinking, let me do depression, because lots of people tell me that they are depressed, and I don't really, know what that looks like. So I thought, how are they doing it? And then I started doing what they were doing, and it was almost not possible for me to comprehend that. I do different things, not saying that, but there was something different. But then when I looked at the energy of idle, I thought, okay, that we're talking about relaxation, we're talking about wholeness, we're talking about non-definition. You can't define yourself. You could start with that. Who am I right now?
When one is trying to achieve true meditation, it's engaging silence. And when you're engaging idleness, you're not engaging silence, you're engaging a non-active activity state, where the non-activity state allows you to go to the rest, recover, regenerate mode in the parasympathetic stage, which turns off the programs. And then and you may have a few ahas, or I can stretch within my body. When you are allowing natural parasympathetic rest, relax, regeneration with the mind in an idle state, and you for 90 minutes making sure that the mind doesn't grab onto tangent subjects, you are in that idle state, stopping the tangent subjects from taking up that 90 minutes.
And also, the other thing that might come up, it will surprise you how difficult it is.
Exactly.
And how you continuously, all of a sudden, have thoughts come in what you could be doing.
Tangent subjects that are taking you away from your idle state.
And then the next thing is, you have to realize that you can actually stop bitching, and complaining and making yourself wrong for not knowing to do anything, because you're actually doing so much. It's a bit like when I looked at the energy of responsibility, we keep on saying, we have to take responsibility. That in itself, if we looked up the word actually responsibility, the synonyms for responsibility, and there was a lot of negativity, in those words.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, we are continuously incarcerating ourselves by looking at responsibility from that perspective. What is actually all the energy that is feeding into that? And in reality, it is really just the ability to respond. Mm-hmm. You can really take that word apart and look at it from that perspective, no matter what the definition is. And also don't go into the opposite, because when I look at the opposite is what? Irresponsible. Are you an irresponsible bitch, right? No. What is the opposite of it? It's like another word. What can you claim? Who can you, what can you own? What can you honor? What can you witness in yourself? That's all part of that being responsive to you.
There's a lot of people that aren't able to grasp this idle stage now, this state. So let's go a little bit deeper. As I just described, when one's trying to reach a meditative state and enhancing silence, you've got to stop the tangential subject matters from taking over the mind's idle state, so that you go into the parasympathetic rest, relax, regeneration. Now, what happens inside the mind during this idle state? Regeneration, relaxation, and the glow of happiness. Something that should be natural to all of us. But because we don't have an indigenous natural lifestyle, we can't just stop and sit next to a tree and go into that idle state and be the internal observer within, externally, internally, without subject matters driving our consciousness to resolve something. It's another natural state we have to learn how to be natural with again.
It's that finding that comfort within yourself by not, somebody said not doing, and yes, that's absolutely that. It's the not doing. But you mentioned early on, that the holidays. So we're talking about the deception. We're living in the deception. We're living in Roman numeral time, right? And in linear time. And literally that we are here in this global narrative is the only place where we live in Roman numeral time, in linear time. And when did that start? It only started, with the Industrial Revolution.
About 300 years.
About 300 years ago. Now, before that, we weren't actually using time as a commodity, right?
Right.
Now, but what happens now? 300 years is not a lot. Now, in order to maintain that time, and that takes us out of idleness. Yeah, I'm getting to the point just now, but that's part of that deception, that false light technology that actually hinders us to find our happiness, because we need to look at that. So we are all socially agreed into this timing, and then that time, that commodity got sold back to us through holidays, right? You're getting holiday pay. It started, I looked it up actually, it started 1936 here in Britain, industrialization and everything part of afterwards, where they for the first time paid for a week of holiday. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, now think, can you then be idle, even though if you have obviously worked a lot and you're really stressed out? You can't, because you only got 1 week, right? You've got to make the best out of it. You've got to go to Butlins and you've got to go overseas and go to the beach and do all of that. Now, there's no idleness in any of that.
Okay. Whereas when we would have a natural living, when we weren't stuck in the hustle and the bustle of the cities and industrial life, idleness can come at any moment. The cows are in the field aren't going to run away. The cows are going to stay there because you trained the cows. You've done your milking, you've done your chores. You can have an idle moment. Okay, idleness was almost an entitlement, even though entitlement may have a negative connotation behind it, but it was something we could do without repercussion.
It's an entitlement now because it comes through the illusion of time that we have agreed upon. So this idleness, in order to really allow yourself to be idle again, to have some leisure time for yourself, we have to get out of time. So the pursuit of happiness, as far as I'm concerned, on a slightly higher, bigger level, is you need to understand that time is just something that you have agreed upon. And
now boring is something completely different. If one is in a bored state, you are not in an idle pursuit of happiness state.
boredom
a lot of people are misperceiving what idleness is because it's such a foreign subject to them.
But I like that you mentioned it, or somebody mentioned it, because boredom is truly the judgment of not allowing yourself to be idle. And
at many difficult levels. I mean, and there's many layers of the judgment that are shame, blame, and guilt, and obsession, depression, and suspension of the self.
Yeah, and to be honest, boredom, suppression, shame, blame, and guilt, all of that is false light technology at the same time, right? That is false light technology, polarity, drama, trauma. Again, in order to pursue a level of happiness, is yes, you got to focus on what is it that you want, and that is a very, very important part of it, that planning of it. And at the same time, you got to look at, how am I disconnected from my source connection? What am I defining as something that is not allowing me to be idle, to be happy, to pursue that happiness? And as you then start letting go of everything that is disconnecting you from your source, voila, true happiness and idleness becomes a byproduct of it.
Okay, so so Shale Crow in the chat room put a quote up. Watch the grass grow or any aspect of nature, especially looking at southeast horizon while keeping mind clear of all thoughts and eyes unfocused. Carlos Castaneda, teacher, called this stopping time, which is what we've been saying. It's entering that natural state. And Shale, thank you for that. Once you enter that natural state and start letting go of the unnatural states of the false light imprinted upon you, you will begin to understand that idleness is a birthright and legacy in the regeneration and renewal of your spirit.
Yeah. And of course, now, there's probably many people saying, well, this false light technology, what is that? And, there's nothing we can do about it because this is just the way it is. And they fall into their victimhood and stuff like that. And then, of course, you got to go back to, looking at what my ability to respond, just like the sloth. If it rains, if the sun shines or not, he's still hanging there and he's still doing what he wants to do because that's what he does. He does not allow the environment to dictate his pursuit of happiness, his level of joy.
So could you channel the sloth for just a moment here to give people some sloth homework?
Yes. Channel.
Yes.
Channel your sloth. I think.
Embody your inner sloth.
Embody my inner sloth. Okay. But I would just have to go into a headstand now and just look at you from that perspective.
and evacuate your entire third of your intestinal tract at once.
Exactly. Well, that's actually one of those things they do. They apparently, when they poop, they poop out a third of their weight. Now tell me again, who doesn't want to be a sloth, right?
Exactly.
Exactly. We all want without colonics, right?
Exactly. Hashtag sloth life.
Exactly. So it's that for me, look at the sloth. Think of a sloth. We had a picture. How does it make you feel when you look at that sloth? Do you have a question for the sloth? Look at there's so much joy, but there is so much relaxation in that. And there's also like, you came to me, I didn't come to you. I'm hanging here, I'm upside down, I'm happy with who I am.
I'm not here to answer your questions.
I'm not here to answer your questions unless you pay me.
Exactly.
Look at that. There is this amazing way of being. There's no definition, he just is that energy of hanging upside down, of being relaxed, of being joyful. That's what I'm getting. And also, do you know what the other thing, what he's giving me actually when I look at that? And maybe it's because it's the second year of the lockdown and he's hanging there by himself. And it's almost like a little hint. It's like, it's okay. Find another sloth.
Find another sloth.
Yeah, and hang together with them. And that this is an interesting energy. Can you hang with another sloth? and be
Ooh, that's an interesting. Can you hang with another sloth and not let your sloth ego come about?
yeah. And do not have to feel that you need to overcompensate.
There are many personality types that couldn't do it.
Oh, check it out.
There you go. Can you hang with a sloth? No.
Yeah. Can you be that chilled? And
we all
still,
know the person that can't shut up. That's talk, 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 talk. How would a sloth respond to a person like a human that just talk, 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 talk all the time?
just sit there and receive. Receive without a point of view. And also what I'm getting from a sloth is not just like in and out and it's got nothing to do with me. There is a curiosity about them. There is almost like a conversation piece, that stillness. There's a stillness that wants me to converse without words. Does that make any sense?
Sloths are telepathic.
Well, here you go. So what if idleness allows you to actually step into your
telepathic state
abilities, so you can finally let go of the idea that empathy is what you're seeking.
Mm-hmm.
Realizing that empathy is actually telepathy gone awry. And that the main thing is the receiving, what I'm getting from this sloth business. Mm-hmm. That receiving, and we call it adaptability, responsibility, that receiving of whatever comes. And this is, for me, in my pursuit of happiness, this is where I am now. Mm-hmm. There is, yes, I am a teacher. Yes, I am a therapist, but I'm so much more than that. There is this element of pursuit of happiness, you can't single yourself out anymore as you're just that, mm-hmm. because it's no longer enough.
So you should write a paper titled "The Dolly Sloth Speaks." Okay, I'm serious. Making some Facebook posts and make a new Facebook page called The Dolly Sloth.
Mm. And you know what? This is not a time, because I looked at this. I'm thinking, okay, this is the second year now. I think it's probably quite tense at the moment because this is when last year started, right? So this is now the second year. And the first year, I was like, hey, this is so cool. I don't have to go out. And now it's like, interesting. How can I outcreate last year through being idle or practicing the art of idleness?
And understanding that idleness is an outcreation form. It's just we don't perceive how it outcreates, because outcreate is innately the action of do, where idleness in doing the nothingness is gaining a greater perspective of regeneration, renewal, recoverability.
And I think this is also why the monk came up for me, because that was the initial thing, and I when you meet a monk or you just talk to them, there is a similar type of energy, but of course it's much more distorted on so many levels. But then I looked at it, I thought, okay, don't do pancake here now. So what is that monk thing? Where does that come from? Where does this idleness and everything come from? And when I look at it from myself, from a multidimensional perspective, I realized that, of course, what happens is that many, 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 many lifetimes, I have been a monk. I have been living, in the mountains, and I've had nothing, and I was sloughing around and everything. Mm-hmm. And I realized that having the sloth as my totem animal now, he's coming back to tell me, hey, you know how to do this. You've done it many, many lifetimes. Allow that shard now to integrate.
So, Grand Mistress of all sloths. Exactly. You're the grand speaker for all sloth kind.
I tell you what, it's just started making me so happy that, that identification as such, because this is what we do. Once we start, why do we identify with any part of ourselves? So that we can acknowledge it. Once we're acknowledging it, we can become it again, right?
That embodiment, yes.
The embodiment of the energy. And does this mean that I'm never going to talk if I'm not asked? No, but I have done this many, many times. I'm a tremendous listener. When I'm in a big group, I hardly say anything because I love listening. There's a curiosity in that. There is a part of idleness almost, but or the monk or the just listening, which I've had forgotten.
Where you're not worried about solicited opinions. You're just in the listening state. You don't have to give a solicited opinion.
Yeah. And that's a gift that for me in my pursuit of happiness, that's important too, because I like that. I get a lot out of it by just looking at pattern recognitions, being curious in a conversation, what people say, how they say it, what is their body language and everything. I enjoy that. And because I know I do a lot of work, this is part of what I do. This is where the mediator, but that is part of that pursuit of happiness. Now, that is part of that wholeness, looking at yourself as a whole and really allowing that element of time to not interfere with that, to acknowledge the false light without falling into the victim, as we said early on. And it's that being the art of conversation is part of that, where you don't have a conversation from a place of ego, because like you're one of those bloody jukeboxes where you just push the button and then a rehearsed fucking story comes out,
Unfortunately, a lot of people are jukebox conversationalists.
I know. And you know what it's like? It feels almost like, ooh, who are you? Or you don't know who you are.
Like, I know I might bash on the Q people a little bit, but having a conversation with them is no different than having a conversation with a freaking jukebox. It's going to be the same thing. Trump this, Trump never lost, Trump. It's the top 10 hits from the 70s, 80s, and 90s from them.
Yeah.
Okay? Over and over and over and over and over again. Nothing new, nothing intelligent about them. All a mechanical repetition.
So in your pursuit of happiness, in your exploration of idleness, can you be a good listener? Or at least have a conversation where you have an equal measure of listening and of talking?
Well, first thing first, if you're going to be a good listener, you have to know what conversations to listen to, which is the responsibility of owning your environment and not allowing people to dump garbage into your space and zone. Example, being in an idle state around a racist is horrible. Okay? Especially if it's something that has triggery concepts behind it. Okay? So owning your reality is just as important as being idle, because you don't want your idle space to be filled with that negativity. Or somebody who's just a conversational vampire. Okay? They're there to suck energy off of you, and it's all the conversation's really all about them. Don't have conversations with them.
Yes.
Or a conversational terrorist. As soon as something doesn't go their way, they Ali Akbar, they blow themselves up, and then they do nuclear weapons in the conversation.
So and that's a great mentioning here, because that's another part of idleness. Idleness doesn't mean that you got your boundaries down there and everybody can harvest your energy and sabotage you, and that's not about that at all. It's actually, for me, it's the opposite. It's like Sloth again. Yeah, Sloth would. Yeah, it's no. You're so fortified within yourself, because you're not fractalizing yourself by having to prove that you are a certain something, that it's almost like you have that protection around you that is a natural way of being. Because
that natural way of being has the innate intuition that this conversation is not going to be beneficial for me. And therefore, I'm going to move the space and environment so the conversation will be mutually beneficial.
Well, and also it's like, key number 1, stay in your joy, right? The symbol of the sloth is joy. So as soon as the conversation gets boring, well, find a way to get out. You don't have to be rude. You can find a way, say, look, I have to go, find an excuse, positive manipulation, win-win situation, you know. I mean, you got to know who you're dealing with or what you're dealing with. Absolutely.
So we got a question from Brittany in the chat room. What if you are unintentionally attracting those conversations into your reality? How do you attract more beneficial ones? Well, the real answer is you've got to put out the right pheromone, because something inside you is attracting something that's looking for energetic resolution, usually dealing with the harvesting journey. Now, the other part of, if you are unintentionally attracting them, what part of you is intentionally attracting them? And go into that. And that's not shadow work. That's once again light work. Understanding the shards, aspects, and parts of yourself that are intentionally attracting them greater than your will.
Absolutely. And I mean, that comes down to the signature frequency teaching, you know, and the separation of density, depending on your vibrational and frequency setup, you are attracting people to yourself. And this is why, you know, I know you're not a big fan of the mirror principle, but I like it. I like the mirror principle to look at, and now I've taken it to a more multidimensional perspective, actually. And so if I get triggered by something, I look at that. What
the reason I don't like the mirror principle is because it's been incorporated into false light technology and purposely been abusive with teachings.
Right. Okay. Well, maybe we can call it something else. Let's just call it. But basically, what it means is, if you get triggered by something, you're looking at, okay, so what is this person showing me here that you know, I'm not embracing in myself, or I may be judging myself,
or they're just showing you they're a XX or X person who's incapable of growth at that moment, and the reflection is, that's not me.
Exactly. So it goes both ways. It's not like you go into judgment, but you look at it from a place of, okay, from a place of wonder. So how can I use this and you can have all of those acknowledgements without going into polarity with it, you know. So this is what's called pattern recognition. You'll get to a stage where you will recognize all of that, but it's not going to phase you anymore, because you're not going to attach any chemical, you know, emotions anymore, you know, any feelings. So you can just see it for what it is, and then very simply walk away, or change the subject, or, you know, do whatever, depending on what you want to create with that person.
Yeah. And I want to touch again on conversational terrorists. And there comes a point in the conversation, and the metaphor is they go Allah Akbar, and poof, they blow the conversation up. Now, they had that intention to do that from the very beginning. And everybody knows what conversational terrorists are. You should actively disengage conversations with the conversational terrorists. Why? Because their whole point is to blow up at some point on you. And truly owning your reality is not allowing people to do that to you. Unfortunately, close family members do that all the time. And you just have to back away and not allow them to that, without submitting to their perspective that I must sit there and listen to your garbage before you blow up. You have to learn the sovereign state of not allowance.
Well, yeah, just learning to say no, you know.
Right.
If you ever really want to find out what makes you happy and you have no clue, start with learning to say no to what doesn't make you happy.
Exactly. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I put up on my Facebook the word no, and I asked people to read into it. What does it mean, the N or the O? And so many people read the charge and polarity, but didn't read that there was no charge and polarity into it. And everyone had a different perspective on no. The whole point of no is to understand a no can be a firm, non-charged, non-polarity situation and subject matter. Unfortunately, perceptions and perspectives drive it to charge and polarity through people's reception of it.
Well, there's this lovely thing I remember in my days with Access. They always said, you know, the difference between judgment and awareness is the emotional baggage that's hanging with the judgment. Otherwise, it's just awareness, you know, and you know, pattern recognition. awareness and all of that.
And unfortunately, some people are like airports. They've got lost luggage hanging around everywhere. They got an entire warehouse of luggage, of their own personal luggage hanging around that they never get rid of.
And that's all part of obviously the self-mastery, the self-journey, and everything we always say, and you know, that need for being present in your body, that need for being grounded. And there's a lot, we talk about light workers, we talk about the light worker trap and everything, and there's a lot of times I'm almost feeling as well that there is a misidentification of what spirituality is.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head.
There's a lot of
and that misidentification has been bastardized by the light worker community over and over again.
Because it's almost like they make it like spirituality is something ethereal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not really. It's not really. The more you think you are etherically spiritual, the less you are actually embodied. What if true spirituality is total embodiment?
Mm-hmm.
And
exactly.
So, but you see, this is the other thing, of course. What does that do? Spirituality, looking at it from that perspective, means that you can dissociate from your body, you can dissociate from your problems, you know, and you go into distraction, basically. And what is the opposite of that? What is the opposite of dissociation? Grounding, we said, but also it's joyful, dynamic living.
So something else with spirituality, a lot of times on my radio shows, when I'm doing sessions with people, I ask them the question, what does spirituality mean to you? And I cannot tell you how much definition about embodiment it tells me what their definition is. Sometimes it's an immediate response that truly means nothing to them. Other times it's this long philosophical response, but they're not a practitioner of spirituality, but they've mastered a philosophical response. And then there are the people in a handful of words describe what their spirituality is, and it has the belief behind it. And when I ask that question, it's because I'm trying to gauge, how can I truly help this person to discover that spirituality is past, present, and future in your journey into accepting it as part of your responsibility?
It's almost like what you're saying, it's a sacrifice.
It can be, yes.
Sacrificial energy around that. I can't have it both ways, right? I can't be spiritual and I can't be fully embodied at the same time.
And their answer tells me how much sacrifice, martyrdom, and zealotry are in their journey.
And of course, the dissociation from the physical vehicle comes very much as a result of abuse.
Absolutely.
And abuse we're not just talking sexual abuse, we're talking about verbal abuse, any type of abuse. So if anyone who is doing self-mastery really committed to self-mastery and doesn't look at abuse of some kind, you're missing out on a big piece here.
Yes. Be it self-abuse, self-flagellation, or a journey in which you allowed abusers to abuse you for whatever subject matter or reason.
And it's the same. You look at the other side too. Look at the bully, because the bully is the next level of having been abused. It's it's the bridge to get out of having been abused. The bridge is like become the bully, and then once it's that part definition, that identification. Once you've become the energy, you've allowed yourself to become the energy of the bully. It goes either way. Yeah. Once you allow without resistance to become that energy, then you can finally go into balance.
And once you're in that balanced state, idleness is your choice.
Yes.
Okay. And maintaining idleness is a continued, ongoing, moment to moment choice in which idleness means something to you without other subject matters interfering with the meaning to you of idleness.
Yes. So, as much as we talk about the pursuit of happiness, we also need to acknowledge, to let go of the resistance of all the things that don't make us happy, because that is part of that pursuit of happiness in order to get that place of balance. So you always got to look at the other side of the coin. Think of the other side of the coin. Turn it around. What's the opposite of that? That I haven't looked at, because it's the resistance itself. I mean, if you wake up in the morning, there's some of those things, wake up in the morning, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. It's complete and utter nonsense to keep repeating that and thinking that at some stage repetition leads to illumination, because all you do is reinforcing the opposite side, where you actually believing exactly the opposite.
And in that journey to believing exactly the opposite is a confluence of many choices that put you in the misdirected state.
Exactly. And then think pancake again. Okay. Yep. Pancake. It's not just you here, the 3D. What's with the eggs, the flour, the sugar, the milk? What's with all the parts, charts, avatars? You may say, hey, I want to be happy. I want to be a sloth. And that part 300 million years ago, well, that's a bit much maybe, but 300,000 years ago, somewhere in Russia, saying, fuck you, you're not. But so strong, interfering with your own energy, creating a fractalization, that happiness is going to be difficult.
So we're at a point where we've developed idleness. Why don't we have people raise their hands now who want to have a talk with us about idleness? So Robert, why don't you put up the information if you're listening on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or anywhere else and want to be a part of the conversation and be able to raise your hand, you have to be in the Zoom room. Robert's there we go.
No, that's awful, Rob.
Oh, that was awesome. Head upside down, Martina. That was awesome.
Grandmaster of Sloth.
You're so good, Robert. Thank you for that one.
So everyone, there's the information for you, how to come into the Zoom room. For all of you that are listening on YouTube right now, the 190 something over there, come into the Zoom room. You can do it. You can leave your YouTube safety. All right, Robert, let's spin up the wheel of callers and see who wants to have a talk with us about idleness.
All righty, first person will be Christopher.
Christopher, are you there? Christopher. Going once.
There it is. Okay, just waiting on the signal there.
There you are. How you doing, Christopher? Where are you calling from?
I'm very well. Begrudgingly in Omaha, Nebraska.
Omaha, Nebraska. So what did you think of today's show so far?
So, it's funny. I was just going to say, first and foremost, thank you for doing this all the time, especially when you've got a schedule like I do that you don't have a lot of time to disconnect from the world, so to speak, from the false reality, if you will. These shows really make a huge difference, and I just wanted to say thank you for everything you do. It's
thank you.
Appreciate it. So today's show it's funny. It's funny how these always seem to resonate or strike a nerve, even when you don't necessarily think that the topic will, and this one does for me, certainly. So I do have a question regarding, I actually asked this in the chat and then I got disconnected, so I'm not sure if you answered this before or not. Being in, an apartment building, for example, like I am, it seems very hard for me to disconnect and be just idle, if you will, because it seems like I'm bombarded from energies all around the building.
That's your perception you're allowing to happen. And you're not being a sovereign being if you're inside your own apartment building and everyone else's energies are getting to you. You are leading an unsovereign life, unfortunately. And you have to come to that truth. If you're being bombarded by energies, what is your daily practice doing for you? Nothing.
Yeah.
Do you have a daily practice?
I don't have regimented as I would like, and I've been trying to find the way to fit that in, for sure.
Okay.
What does it look like when you say you're bombarded by other energies? What does that actually look like for you?
Well, I don't, when I say energy, I don't mean that I feel under attack or anything like this. That it feels like I'm, for example, not even having the most soundproof walls. I just, it's almost like I feel exposed more than anything, and not.
That's the same thing. If you feel exposed, that's the same thing.
Okay, it's more of a noise thing, I guess. Is then the, and when I say noise, I don't mean necessarily audible sounds. Just, and the other half of this is I've always had trouble with your normal, if you will, quote unquote, type of meditation. My mind always goes at full tilt. And the other half of my question actually was, what's your thoughts on doing something, even though it's an activity, like driving, for example? Me driving on long trips, it's like the only time I seem to clear my head. But does that count?
What is driving doing? You're engaging the motor cortex and engaging the brain, and that is what you needed to disengage all of the excess subject matters that are overwhelming yourself. And it's basically saying you have an issue, a character flaw with overthinking.
It's fair. Yeah.
Martina, you want to add to that?
Well, it's engaging. You just said engaging the brain, and obviously when we talk about meditation, we do the opposite. We're trying not to engage the brain. So what if we need to create a bridge first, to actually find a way where you can engage your brain, in a way that you can start fortifying your body. You're not being the victim anymore with what happens outside of yourself. And then you can start letting go of that. Mm-hmm. It's very difficult to go from an abused person into, okay, now I'm perfectly happy and I'm this and that. You have to sometimes become the bully first, right? But this is not, what I'm saying is find that bridge. Now, when you say you're in your room, well, put headphones on. What's it going to take? What's it going to take to sound out? Getting out of this, I can't make responsibility, adaptability. What can you do in order to drain those out? Because that puts you back into choice, takes you out of the victimhood into choice. And as soon as you get back into choice, you can actually start feeling more of the joy that we are talking about in the pursuit of happiness. It's like you're taking a step. And even if it's just getting a bloody headphone and put it on, if there's somebody noisy out there.
Mm-hmm. Also learning to engage your brain in unengagement. Give it a task of unengagement. Now, that seems like a double negative, but you can engage the brain to be unengaged. That's its task.
Well, that's what you do when you drive, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of seems to be.
Why can't you do it at home?
Never really been able to figure that one out.
What you do when you drive, the engagement is you really have to focus on the road. Yeah. It's very much like when I used to drive motorbikes. It was amazing. It puts you totally into the present moment because you have to think for everyone around you, much more than when you actually drive a car.
Exactly.
So you're engaging, you're focusing completely, and that's what takes out the noise. And I remember Andrew said to me once, driving a car is like a prayer. You're praying.
Mm-hmm. It's a living prayer.
It's a living prayer. But literally, it's complete and utter focus. So maybe it's a matter of getting out of the light worker trap that you have to, totally be dissociated in that etherical state in order to meditate, and actually look and thinking, hang on a second, I have to be completely and utterly embodied and focused in order to meditate. And maybe that transcendental meditation is not necessarily the right thing for you to do right now. It's not for me either. Mm-hmm. I have too many thoughts going on. And that's okay. I know who I am. So I'm not going to go and do the transcendental one too often, or whenever I feel like it, I can, but I do the journeying meditation. We're a journey. I meditate through journeying, or call it journeying, whatever you want to do. Just find the right thing. Don't try to put yourself into a box that doesn't fit for you.
That's why I tell people their daily practice has to have a large variety of things they regularly practice. When you get stuck into a mono practice, that mono practice doesn't feed you back anything in long term. So learning variety allows you to help engage the brain, the mind, the heart, the gut into different ways of learning the relaxation process, learning the disentanglement process, learning the neutrality process, because each practice has a different way of accomplishing those.
And only that is going to give you choice at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's not just one of the, and you know, the other thing I was thinking the other day, and maybe look at that from an energetic, we are so used to being told what to do. All right. So we often go the opposite and think, okay, we're not planning, we're not doing this, I'm not going to be told, I'm just going to go with the flow, and actually not realizing that you're doing yourself a disfavor, because you can plan, you know, based on what you want. It's okay to plan. It's okay to trying to control something, to put something into place, to, you know, create something, but you are the one doing it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So let me ask you a question. What does spirituality mean to you?
Truly the core of it, to me, it means the core of what I am. And I admit that sometimes it's hard to sometimes it's hard to remember that with the day-to-day.
You're avoiding the answer. Go to your heart. Come on. I'm going to crack the whip on you here, because unfortunately you've developed a way to give all of your answers the easy way out. And that's why it's so hard to be in your apartment. You've chosen the easy way for everything. What does it mean? Having no answer is okay, but you're not okay with that. And this is the you who's got 27 subject matters that have plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and self-roasting behind them. Classic obsessive overthinker. Spirituality is not an obsessive overthinking process. You get out of the obsessive overthinking and you're realizing it's very easy for you to define it. You're going to have a new answer every day, and that's okay too. As you learn to turn off the obsessive overthinking.
And tell me, darling, I know exactly what that feels like. Yeah, I've been there, done it, still do it at times. This is when I then say, okay, flip the coin, flip the frequency.
Exactly.
You know, just the core, you said the core of what I am. It means absolutely nothing. Yeah.
Right.
It means everything and it means absolutely nothing. You got to break it down.
Yeah.
You got to break it down.
That's pure light worker word salad. Okay.
And also, you know, there's another way of looking at it. You can also say, because this is so heavy for you, because it doesn't mean anything to you. So
Exactly.
what if you could allow yourself to actually say, no, I'm not going to actually ever want to know who I am. I don't want to get to the core of who I am. Because frankly, darling, I mean, this is not like a one meditation thing. This is what we're here for, a lifetime and beyond. You know, it's too big. It's too big of a challenge that you're setting yourself, right?
Can you be okay with that?
Yeah, break it down. Idleness. Be idle. Good luck with it. I'm working on it too. I know it's not easy.
Christopher, can you be okay without an answer?
I guess the answer is I have to be.
No. That's eliminating choice.
It's
let's
part
let's-
of. Go ahead, sir.
I was just wondering, imagine you're walking up to a sloth, right? And you ask that question to the sloth. What does the core of being me mean? What is the sloth telling you?
Just existing.
Can you be okay with just existing? No, you can't. And it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Part of the journey into accepting idleness is being okay with it for a few minutes until you can be with it for a few hours and a few weeks and a few days so that it helps you unravel a whole new point of view for yourself.
Just allow yourself not to define yourself.
Right now, you're a set of binoculars, but you're only using one side.
Oh. Oh, I know what we do. Okay, so make yourself a little binocular. This is where you're looking, okay? So you can only see, I can only see Andrew's head now. So there's no other life for me, just Andrew. Okay? Now, for some might be good, I don't know, for some not. So what you do, you take that, oh, right. I never looked at that. You can change your focus.
What kind of job do you do?
Again and again.
So right now I'm actually I'm in law school, and I've worked in politics for a long time, actually.
I know who you are.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I know.
we've talked a couple.
Yeah,
we've
yeah,
talked
I
a few
know.
times.
I know
before,
who you are.
So, and
So
I'm,
why are you stuck now? Has COVID got to you?
a bit. I made a decision to attend the school that I'm attending based on scholarship considerations,
Mhm.
and I find that I am not particularly happy. It's I'm not particularly happy with the geographic location that I'm at. And this is, to be frank, this has kind of been a consistent thing with my life. I've moved around a lot. And
Mhm.
I think part of it is that went from living in a place where I actually really liked living there, even if it wasn't the most comfortable housing situation. It was still, I liked the area. And now I'm again in a place where I feel like, I don't know.
You feel restricted
I feel
because you
very
can't connect to the community.
Yeah, and it's funny, you told me once in a session. It's been, I guess, a couple years, or maybe even just a year. I'm not, all blends together a little bit, but you mentioned that part of the reason, that I was born into the family that I was born into, would be some connections and whatnot that, and at the time I didn't really know where those would come in, and it seems to have crystallized a little more, and now I find that I have a lot of ancestral connections that are kind of manifested in certain societies and whatnot, if you will. And I'm not talking about like, this is not like this is not a Q-tard Illuminati thing, I promise. But I seem to have a network now in the Massachusetts area, and I'm feeling like, I feel like I need to get back to that geographic area.
Mhm. So what's stopping you from connecting in Oklahoma?
Or in Omaha, you mean?
Omaha, sorry.
It's, for example, taking all the classes online, the things are interactions are more frowned upon on campus than anything. So it got to the point where didn't really make any sense to actually go on campus if I had the option to do online. And I haven't, I'm not a big drinker or anything like that, so I don't go out or anything like that. It's just I have not.
So all of your limitations are adding up to you right now, and the inner part of you that says run, go somewhere else is starting to gain traction. What are you afraid of? Why are you afraid of connecting to people to there?
I don't think I am. I think I.
Yes, you are.
Is it?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Alan Slannery does it perfect. You're a traveling hermit. Okay?
All right, yeah, no, it's accurate.
Okay?
That's accurate.
You got to take your hermit's card and burn it. You aren't a card-carrying hermit anymore. It's too easy to be a hermit. The easy road once again for you.
Well, I guess that's my question. Is it
Politics is not the easy road. Why did you choose that?
Well, to be frank, at first it was
What hermits choose public politics, being around people all the time? There's an inner part of you who doesn't want to be the hermit anymore. And you've got to embrace that part. You got to become the extrovert. Okay?
Yeah, I kind of feel that.
No matter where you go, this will repeat itself.
I guess so. I do you feel, or is it, how to phrase this? Is the reason I'm thinking of heading back to the East Coast because it's in my best interest, or just because of trying to find the easy way?
It's to find the easy way. What is happening in Omaha will repeat itself anywhere else you go. Until you face the inner hermit and become the extrovert.
You could also look at the commitment here. How much are you committed to you and to your journey by keep on running and making other people more important than yourself?
Yep.
Because you always got, look, and again, I can relate to that too, because it's like having the back door open, going, committing just to a certain amount. And then when it gets a bit too icky, people actually wanting something from me and wanting to talk to me, and all that, it gets too much. Then you have to disconnect again. So there's a huge disconnection. But the disconnection comes, you're not a pancake, right? Think of that. You're connecting, you're just looking at what happens in this reality outside of you. What's happening within yourself? Where's the disconnection coming from? How many parts are there that continuously, they're not backing you up? They're working against you. They're competing. They're making you have that back door open so that you can run. As long as you do that, you will never commit to yourself.
That's right.
Is it going to be comfortable? No. But nothing happens in the comfort zone, or more happens outside of the comfort zone. Are you willing to be completely uncomfortable and still stand your ground? Not do a runner. We call it traveling, but you're doing a runner. You're running from yourself. You're running from the potency that you have, because you're a tremendously potent person.
Mm-hmm.
You got to look at abuse. What has caused that disconnection? And how can you get back into connecting with yourself? And then all of a sudden, everything else just becomes irrelevant. Doesn't care. You don't care anymore. You be the driver on that super highway of information in your vagus nerve. You heard that? You need to really get rid of all those fucking programs, internal programs. You are the driver. You know how to drive, right?
It's funny, you know, circling back to what Andrew mentioned at first, you know, that having so many contingency plans and kind of ending up in analysis paralysis, I guess is a
Yeah,
thing.
because they're false choices. These are false choices. They seem that they are choices, but because you're not committing to ever choosing them, they're just hanging around, giving you the illusion that you have choices, but actually you're never choosing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So go with that.
Yes.
What
Christian.
Just one thing. Keep asking yourself the question, what choice can I make today that will help me to commit to myself?
Okay.
Keep asking that question and see what happens.
Okay. First thing I want you to go is to look out for Omaha brisket. Okay? Brisket and barbecue are gigantic through those areas. If you can't connect to people through brisket and barbecue, something's really wrong with you. Okay? There are 1,001 coffee shops. There are 1,001 places that are still open. You just got to be willing to go to them. Okay?
Okay.
Go out and be social. You got to practice being the extrovert. And you've got to erase all the plan, everything up to plan triple Z. You got to throw them all out and burn them all down. Because those are all the easy way outs. Easy way out, easy way out, easy way out from the tough decision of facing your introvert and allowing yourself to be the extrovert.
May I ask one more thing before?
Sure.
So, and you're going to have to forgive the crypticness on this one. There's an idea that's been floated a little bit that would involve me certainly not being able to be an extrovert and put myself very much out there. And it's interesting that even though I've worked in politics, and when I say politics, kind of, you know, the fringes are, you know, independents, third parties anyway. But it's funny, I've done it for more than 10 years, and not a lot of people actually know what my political beliefs are.
Mm-hmm.
Is it time to be out loud with it or no? Is it time to...
Only you will know that. Only you will know that. If you want to know what your political beliefs are, what do you post? Look at your last 6 years of posting.
Well, that's the thing. I may not necessarily... No, I know what they are. I just don't necessarily make them... I don't talk all that publicly.
Okay. Were you a Q-tard?
No.
Were you
did I want to believe every once in a while?
No. I'm not saying were you an actual Q-tard posting that all the baby raping lizard wizards are about to take over and Trump's the savior? Okay. Were you a militia member?
No.
Okay. Do you have anything like Marjorie Taylor Greene that's going to bite you in the ass?
I do not believe so. No.
Then you're fine to put your views out. Okay. But again, only you are going to know this. Any political consultant's going to ask you, what have you done in the past that's going to bite you in the ass? Okay.
Yeah. And this would be an internal thing, internal with a party. But anyway, we'll see. Okay.
It's okay. It's okay. If they're going to give you a paid job, absolutely do it. Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever. If it's cash in your pocket to help pay for school, do it.
Might not necessarily be cash, but it would be.
Demand your value.
Fair enough.
Okay, this is freaking politics. Money's money. They burn money faster than wasting water.
At least the R's and D's do, but yeah.
Okay. All right, Paul. Thank you so much for calling in. You've actually helped a lot of people.
I thank you, and thank you both for.
Okay, get out and go and do an Omaha brisket or steak. Get out there and start thinking and like put your campaign together, put your ideology together, Write a mini white paper on yourself. Okay?
Gotcha.
All right, brother. Take it easy. Thanks a lot for calling in.
Thank you both. Cheers.
All right, Robert. Let's spin up the wheel of callers and see who wants to have a conversation next.
Okay, Tina Simone, your signal to unmute.
Tina, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Where are you calling from today?
Jamaica, you know already.
Jamaica, the weather wizard.
Yes, I am the weather wizard.
Yes.
Who does not know how to be a sloth?
Exactly. So what did you think of today's show?
Oh, I needed to hear it because this is one of the things that I'm trying to become, a sloth. I've been so hyper vigilant for most of my life. And yes, the overthinking, all of that, just busy, 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 busy. I know when I'm doing it to as escapism and all of that, and sometimes it's because the energy that I didn't understand, being the weather wizard flowing through me, I didn't know what to do with it, grounding, all of that. So I find myself right now, well, I've drawn onto myself experiences that I feel are allowing me to get in touch with the inner sloth, even though it became crisis level. So one of the things I'm connected with in terms of what you guys have presented is the idea of the sloth. The word surrender comes. And a lot of people have an issue with the word surrender. But what I mean is surrendering to yourself. And as you know, you and Martina has been talking about, you know, it's not about everybody else and everything that's going on around you, or else you are basically a victim to everything and everyone, or you're enslaving and entangling yourself in a very misaligned way. So I am taking some steps to really become the sloth, which is, I feel like, is mastery. It's a self-mastery, knowing self, being very grounded.
Mm-hmm.
But my question is, sorry, when I do take the time to idle, and idle I'm trying to do means, yes, I may have had plans for today, etc. But when the day comes and I feel like that's not the direction that I should be going, I feel much better to release it. But I find that when I want to be still and to release and to just come into my own space, I fall asleep. I don't want to be sleeping. I want to be, it's like I feel a mechanism in my body that in order for me to come into my space and become aware of myself multidimensionally, I have to sleep. And
so right there's a biomechanical process going on with you. If you're feeling you have to sleep to enter that state, you're burnt out. Your adrenal gland burned out, you're mentally burned out, you're physically burned out, you're spiritually burned out, and you're in such denial of burning out that the only way your body's going to tell you is sleep.
Oh, that's not cool. I need to get out of this. I need to get out of
so
that.
You need to sloth render. Surrender to the sloth. Okay? Now, Martina, I want you to talk about the nature of the tiredness versus entering that sloth state and resisting the tiredness.
Yeah. Very, very often, you know, you were saying, I have to get out of this. Very often when you think you need to get out of something, the best way of changing it is actually getting into it. And if you do require to sleep, then what's right about that? What is actually right about your body telling you that? Just like what Andrew says now, what if you could just really allow yourself to sloth render into sleeping? So look, if it takes a week, if it takes a month, I'm going to do it. Just allow that. Take the resistance away and then see what actually happens. Because, you know, if the body requires it, or if there is a mechanism that doesn't allow you to do anything else, then just surrender into it. And it's almost like you're tricking your nervous system. Say, okay, well, fuck you. I'll give you sleep. Let's try that. Sleep as much as you want, as much as you can. Really try to sleep. Try to sleep. And then see what happens. That inner rebel will turn around and actually, okay, right. I don't want to do that either. And then see what happens.
It's like I'm identifying two types of sleep. I'm using the word sleep, but there are two types of experiences that I have. One, yes, and I know right now, physically, yes, I'm burnt out because I burnt myself out. But there's a sleep of physical fatigue, and yes, and your mind and your body and everything go. And sometimes there's the other space where I am probably I'm not even sleeping because I'm working something out, because when I go into what I feel is sleep, which is it's not even unconscious because I'm conscious, but it's as if I'm in between wakefulness and sleep, and I'm actually in that space.
And therefore you
working
aren't,
things
hold on,
out.
you're not actually sleeping. You're in a mental awareness state, not in delta, not in sleep paralysis, and you're denying the body the actual dream space. You're in a
Oh.
faux dream space because you've overworked and overworked. The part of you that wants control of everything is taking control of your dream space too.
Oh shit.
Yeah, oh
Oh.
shit.
Well,
which means there's an extreme control freak deep inside you. Overwork, overwork, overwork. And I know there's a lot of cultural things about Jamaicans not working. You're a hard worker. But there's something inside of you that says, I will never not be a hard worker, who is now enforced that at such a high level, you can't embody the sloth without taking on, I'm a lazy Jamaican. You're not only going to be a lazy Jamaican, you're going to be a human being.
I love the concept of lazy. You know what? I'm agreeing with you, and I'm feeling like a lot of it is not necessarily even hard work. Vigilance.
There you go. Over vigilance too.
Like I need to protect. It's like if I am not, this is it. If I'm not alert in terms of being hyper vigilant, something, it's in my psyche. I have to just accept it. Something bad is going to happen to me. Like, you know, so because I even sleep with I realize sometimes I sleep with my fist, like my hand in a fist beneath my pillow. And this has been years of, and I know I've had some experiences, fine. They were not very nice. And, you know, people go through that, but I'm sick and tired of that. I just want to hang off a goddamn tree. Jesus. I want to drop it. Enough.
Well, then
I think enough now.
I think you needed to bedazzle some sloth clothing, so that when you put on sloth clothing when you're done, so it tactilely reminds you, you know, get a big sloth on a t-shirt and bedazzle it,
and PJs and
yeah, exactly, sloth shoes, sloth hat.
Oh, that feels good already.
Yeah, get yourself a trapeze you can hang from.
Okay, that's pushing it. I'll have to get a really good trapeze. So, okay, so basically reprogram myself, like embody it, practice it, and so it can become natural, just like how I program myself to be hypervigilant. Oh, okay, I'll feel that, but that you saying that a while ago just felt so good. I'm gonna do that. And I'm going to let my family know I'm in sloth mode. Leave me alone.
You're going to channel your inner sloth.
Okay. That
means they got to cook. They have to take on responsibilities.
Feed yourself. The only person I'll have I'll have a problem to relate that to is my dog, who is my little fur baby. But yeah, I'll spoil him. Thanks. And one other thing before I go. Yes, the groundedness is definitely a part of it, because just like what I was saying, not because I'm relaxed, I have to go off into sleep. The sloth is totally relaxed and totally present and totally awake. So yes, I'm going to go for that. I'm trying to help my 12-year-old in terms of that. Maybe I'm passing on some of that. but in terms of her being present, I find that she, in terms of watching television, I literally tell her you're walking into the movie because of how she responds after. It takes about 30 minutes for her to be able to just function. And so I'm trying to teach her technique that may be appropriate for 12-year-old. She's very advanced, but I don't want to overdo it because a
think you
child
should.
must
I think
remain a child.
you really want to do something to help benefit her. If she's that engaged into the television, send her to acting classes.
Yes, unfortunately with the COVID, because I know she's very athletic and that would have helped with the swimming and everything. But because
No,
of the
pure acting classes. You can
acting,
go online. Acting,
ooh,
yes.
acting,
Acting, yes. Where she's got to learn to embody being the actor-actress part. Therefore, she's not going to be into watching the show. She's going to looking at the technique the actors and actresses are going to do.
yeah, okay. But how do I get her to? I'm trying to get her to be aware of when she is present and when she's not
Too
present.
young. She's too young to demand
Young?
it out of her. Oh, come on.
No, I'm not trying to demand it. I'm
But you
just saying.
are. You are. You don't realize it because you're overworking
Oh,
yourself.
oh,
Therefore, it
okay.
comes up on a cyclical, regular basis, and to her, it's like nagging.
Ooh, that's
Yeah,
not cool.
because you don't realize that you come off as a nag because you probably say it 8 to 12 times a week.
Okay, you mean a day? You mean? All right, too much.
They
All
didn't hear
right.
you the first 7 times.
No, I ignored it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably what.
Therefore,
got you.
it's coming off as nagging, and
Okay.
they completely don't hear you. Go ahead, Martina.
There's this element of caring less. Okay. And as a mother, really look at that. Because in order to be carefree for you and for her, you have to allow yourself to care less. Now look at it just from because I don't care. Yeah. As a mother, you wouldn't allow yourself to say that, right? I'm a bad mom if I don't care. But what if that is that false light technology that you're buying into? What if you really could say, in order to be carefree, to allow her, to not incarcerate her, because what if her reaction, like Andrew just said, is more a response to what she's getting from you? It's almost like she wants to get away from the
Away
nag.
from it. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So just, what's it going to take for you to care less? I know that it's a weird question. What's it going to take for me to care less? To become carefree.
I see that when you put it that way, is as if the reason why I'm caring too much it's because I'm perhaps projecting my own hypervigilance onto her. Shit. Sorry.
Yeah, and then also
that's what I'm doing.
And you
Oh.
want to be the best mom too, right? You want to be the best mom, but what
No, I don't need to be the best.
you want to be a good mom. Yeah, we all
Yes.
want to be good moms, right? We don't want to be, bitches and stuff. But what if that is not what she requires? So instead of going into what is the right thing to do here, is actually ask yourself the question, be present yourself and say, what is actually required right here for me to be, so that she can start reacting differently? What does she require from me? Instead of telling me what to do.
Perhaps she and my husband, that I need to care less. That's it. I think that's it.
And take it from the way it's meant, yeah?
Yes, I got it. I don't mean like you. Yeah, I got what you mean. I got it. Cool. Thank you so much for that. All right, guys. Thank you for your program today. I'll be listening in the chat.
You're welcome. And send us some pictures of your bedazzled sloth PJs.
Even if it's sexy, okay.
Sloths aren't sexy. Well, this is so your family knows you are embodying the lessons of the sloth.
Yeah, I know. I was just joking.
Suckle.
Okay, I will. I'll put it in the where would you on Facebook or something?
Yeah, Facebook. Yeah, put it on my Facebook page. Yes.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, take it easy, Tina.
Bye.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was a fun call. That was really, really a fun call.
They're all slothing on. I like it.
Exactly. All right, let's spin up for one more caller. All right, Robert, let's see who's next.
Okay, Dorchee Cogman, signal to unmute.
Dorchee, are you there?
Oh, Rob, that's so good.
Hello.
Hello, how you doing today?
Hi. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. I came in a while ago, but I wasn't part of the whole thing. But it's fascinating to me because a friend did some breathing work with me today, and he mentioned you.
Mm-hmm. So where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Amsterdam.
From Amsterdam. So have you heard about our sloth messages?
Not in depth, but I get where you're going with that.
So what questions did you have for us?
Well, my question is, I've been for many years kind of like forced by the universe to surrender. So in that sense, I had to give in different life, through different life lessons. And I think I've come to a point where I have absolutely given up everything. And I've given in to that, not being able to actually make the world, make my world, but really surrender to my process. And right now, the thing that keeps coming back is while I'm healing myself, the main problem is still my solar plexus, which is about how do I put myself into the world. And I would like to know from you, while being in this surrendered state, how can I still assist myself to be in the flow and put myself in the world, because I'm sorry, I'm being a bit vague, but I try to listen. So if I put things out through inspired action, and there's not really any great movement, my doubts kick in, and then I think, okay, I must not be on the right track, because
Are you
I'm
using Facebook as your judgment or social media as your judgment for movement?
Maybe, yeah.
That's your main mistake then. You can never use social media as a judgment for movement. And right now you're still in the midst of your healing state, and it's not about putting yourself out. You're doing cart before the horse right now. And learning to be idle with the surrendered state is going to be something you're going to have to practice, because in that idle states are going to be moments of brilliance and genius, in which you'll go and write stuff down and cognitize things and make your own sayings, motions, and teachings.
Yes.
So you always have to present yourself. Am I putting the cart before the horse? And right now you are classic cart and horse syndrome. You can't be in the healing and putting yourself out at the same time.
Okay.
Martina, you want to touch on that subject, cart and horse?
Yeah. The question I have is, you got to look at for what purpose are you actually putting things out? Are you doing it from a place because you are in need of validation of people responding to it? Or are you putting it out because it's just joyful for you to communicate it, to share it?
Without a response back.
Without a response back. See, this is the thing. When, when you put something out, you can't, what kills the response at times is that you are having an attachment to and an expectation of how people perceive it. With that, creates then, the hesitation, but the hesitation actually comes from comes before, because you're seeking validation by putting stuff out. And the only way, yeah, go.
I totally hear what you're saying, and I'm aware of having that wound. So if this happens, I tell myself, it's understandable, you're seeking validation. And then I try, I give it I mother myself, I do inner child work.
So Dorchee, what if you could actually acknowledge that, as you already do, and not masochistically put yourself through this self-flagellation here? Just don't put anything out. Then, just enjoy all the findings for yourself, and just allow yourself for a month to not, or longer, to not put anything out, and see if you can actually find that joy and the trust within yourself, just having that communication with yourself without seeking that outside validation. See, the other thing you said surrender, and then you mentioned giving up, giving in. Now, surrender has nothing to do with giving up or giving in. Surrender is very much letting go of the resistance to whatever you're working on. Because if you're giving up and giving in, you're continuously getting out of that commitment to yourself.
Can you repeat that last sentence?
In order to commit to yourself, you can't give up. You can't give in. You have to stand behind you. You have to stand next to you. You have to stand in front of you to guide you. You have to completely and utterly commit to you, to yourself, but not to anyone else. And this is the journey. The journey to self-mastery is the commitment to the self, and the surrender into the resistance, the letting go of the resistance.
Yes. Yeah, that's a beautiful point.
It's the opposite. It's completely the opposite. Look at that energy. Flip that frequency. Flip that coin. When you say surrender, it means the opposite. It means A+, working with you and yourself, choosing for you and as you, as if nobody else is out there. It's again, we talk about that word selfless. Be selfless. Now, it's a bunch of bullshit. You should be self-full.
Yes.
Self-full.
And so there is, because I guess I'm grasping at what you're saying. I resonate with it, and what you were saying earlier is that, yeah, I should continue with my self-healing before I can help others. But there is also, I'm also an artist, and I'd like to express myself. So it's a gray area in where so I guess what you're saying is that my focus should just be on me, in what feels good for me, what makes me happy.
Yeah, what is joyful for you? When you look at your picture, your painting, whatever art you do, you have to be the one happy with it. You have to be, because this is the energy that will then come through the painting.
Yes.
Hold on. And if there's a part of you who immediately wants to share that energy, that right there is an adult temper tantrum, a regurgitation teacher, seeking instant validation. You should sit with that energy and let it percolate within inside you, and not give in to the whim of instantly sharing it for validation.
Yes, I think you're hitting the nail on the head.
Okay, and that is an adult temper tantrum with your own philosophy. Your philosophies are arguing with each other. And that
Yeah.
means neither philosophy is beneficial to you.
Yeah. Because being a human and wanting to be validated is also valid, right?
99% of the time, no. We can get validation without needing validation. Validation comes through its own synchronistic formats. And I reiterate, 99% of the time, humans don't need validation. They get it in an infinite amount of ways without demanding it. So right now, social media for you is instant demand, instant gratification.
Well, I said yes, but because I want to be honest, and there is a part, but that's not the biggest part. It's more in the private.
It's still the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay? I have a great piece. I want to show it to you. No, sit with it for a month. Grow with it for a month. Resist instantly sharing it. Wait a month.
And that's just practice.
Yeah.
Just practice. When the feeling comes, okay, no. And you see, the other thing, you can bring a middleman in, and the middleman would be the painting itself.
Exactly.
With a painting. What do you think? What you look like? You know, because the painting or whatever art you do, I don't know, has its own consciousness. So, you know, just have a conversation with the painting. It might not want to be thrown out into the world right now. It might just want to simmer and sit with you for a little bit until
like
the time is right.
Like a cup of tea steeping.
Mm.
And so is that where the healing is?
Healing is a separate journey. This is cart and horse situation again.
Yeah.
Your healing is a process, not an event. And you're making healing an event when you're trying to force it out. Healing is a continuing set of processes over and over and over again that teach you about the greater journey of surrender.
Yes.
So separate the cart and the horse. Ride the horse for a while without the cart.
Have some fun with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, this journey. What a
I got a question. Do you do medicine?
No.
So you've never done ayahuasca or anything like that?
Oh, I have in the past.
How many times?
I did overall, I did it about 16 times in a year's.
That's way too much. And right now you're suffering from doing too much medicine.
It's been 2.5 years, 3 years.
It could be another 7 years before that stuff fades away.
And how it's interesting you say this, because I've been questioning this.
So medicine as an industry has no way to reform itself, no way to determine what doses are too much or too little. And the 16 sessions you did in a year, my personal view is no one should do medicine more than 5 or 6 times in their whole life. But there are people that do it every week. Medicine is never meant to be a religion. Okay? And 16 times in a year, you're still in the ethereal realm, still trying to figure out everything that's going on. And this is why cart and horse is so difficult for you to understand right now.
Okay.
Okay? No more medicine. Done. You're done with it for at least 10 years. You can smoke cannabis. You can do little mushrooms on the side every now and then, but no more ayahuasca, no cocaine, any of that. It's just going to disrupt you even more.
Okay.
And you're stuck in this place of surrender, heal, because the medicine was too strong of a journey for you, and you didn't have the coping skills going into the medicine journey to deal with it. And this is the issue with the industry itself. There are certain people who should never be in a medicine journey, ever. Okay?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because in the last month I've been asking questions about the medicine, and I'm content on journeying myself, because I'm journeying in just natural without anything.
Exactly. The whole point of medicine is when you're stuck at a certain stage, you use medicine to help you break the stuckness. And I reiterate, no, most people shouldn't do medicine more than 4 times in their whole life. Okay. The industry is going to deal with it in their own way. Okay. But
Yeah.
for you, no more medicine. Again, a little bit of mushrooms here and there. Okay. It's a different kind of drug. Also, your artwork is your medicine.
Okay.
Okay. And you got to learn that artwork is my medicine. It will help me enter that altered state and stay within it for extended periods of time.
And my voice, do you suggest that I just sing for myself so I can heal? Until
Why is that so important?
That's a good question. I don't know.
That's cart and horse.
Do you enjoy singing?
Yes, but I'm very critical of myself. So as long as I can leave the criticism out, I do enjoy it. Once
Just
the once,
it's the same energy. Just keep singing to yourself then, because if you know you're already self-critical when you sing just by yourself, how much more self-critical are you going to be when you sing for others?
yeah, exactly. So there is, okay, I think I should trust the process once more. And is there a stage where you feel that it's kind of overlapping? You can share and still be in
the state that you're in right now, you have to separate the two of them. You have to be healed before you get there, and you'll know when you're healed.
Okay.
Because if you allow it 1 inch, you'll continue to make the mistakes over and over and over and over again. You've got to embody the embodiment of idleness. You've got to embody the energy of being in your body and beyond that healing as a process, not an event. Get out of the instant gratification mode and the temper tantrum between your inner philosophies.
Mm.
Allow that to be the inner work, to be the internal peacekeeper and peacemaker inside yourself. Make peace between these philosophies, and these philosophies continue to make friction. They've got to go. They're no longer beneficial philosophies to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Sing because it makes you happy. Okay. Is there a part of you that wanted to be a singer in Medicine Journeys?
Yes.
Why do you think I picked up on this? Because medicine has fucked you up. Hardcore. And I'm going to be blunt. Give up on that idea, or you will lose yourself and never truly be who you are. At one point, a certain cup you took in about your 8th or 9th ceremony was 10 times the dosage you were ready for. And you still have never come back from that. Okay?
Okay. Is there a way to recover better, or is that just my process? It's just something
Your individuated process is to understand that medicine has gone too far, and out of, unfortunately, an ignorant set of choices because you weren't aware of the greater issues that it was going to create, that you have to come to terms that I cannot live the medicine life anymore. I have to live my life. There's no detox that's going to get the DMT out of you. It's already activated. Okay? But learning to embody and living. The whole point of medicine from the very beginning of the dawn of the indigenous cultures was to show people they can have that experience, and in between experiences, learn how to get it there on your own without the medicine. Artwork is your new medicine. Embrace that as your medicine. Allow that medicine teacher to speak through in the artwork that you create. Learn to do other forms of artwork. Do clay. Okay? Take some of the visions that you see in your medicine states and journey and embody them into clay and fire them. Learn more ways. Pick up an airbrush. Okay? Do body painting with an airbrush. Okay?
Thank you.
Medicine is done with you, and you have to come to deep internal terms. It's never going to leave you. You already know that deep down inside, right?
I didn't think I would need more. I wasn't.
Yeah, but 16 sessions in a year is very excessive. And I know people who do more than that. I know people that are on their 180th, 190th ceremony, and I tell them, what the fuck are you doing? You're losing this reality. You're meant to be living here.
Yes.
Okay, then start living here. And understand medicine has taught you absolutely everything it can teach you. Now it's learning about taking what it has taught you and manifesting through what gives you passionate exuberation and concept of doing. Sing while you paint.
Yes.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome, darling.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for calling in.
Thank you.
You've been a good teacher to a lot of people.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Wow, Martina, another 2 hours gone really fast.
Yes.
And to think how we started it out. Sloth medicine, idleness.
And all in pursuit of happiness, right?
Exactly.
Slightly different way of looking at it.
Yes. So you want to give a way for people to get a hold of you?
Sure. Synchrolistic.co.uk, that's my website. And I'm obviously on, all the Instagrams and Facebooks and everything. And we also have, this is my website. And we also have our Earth Nouveau show on a Wednesday at 5 o'clock, earthnouveau.com. Thanks, Robert.
And you all know who I am. We shall be back for another show. Stay in tune, everyone. All right, Robert, take us away.
Bye.
Each different bubble of reality is true. A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma. Nudge, nudge, it's the Holy Grail. Improvise. Mysterious. It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.